A minister announced today that the government does intend to break international law. Will you be talking to Conservative MPs about trying to amend this bill? Is there a rebellion on the way?
Well, what the government's proposing is wrong. I think that's plain for everybody to see. But we need to step back here and focus on getting a deal. Getting a deal is in the national interest.
But in terms of the internal market bill, are you talking to Conservative MPs about mounting a rebellion to try and amend this legislation? You, as a lawyer, must be concerned that the government intends to break international law.
Getting a deal is in the national interest. That's what the public want. That's what they were promised. The outstanding issues are not difficult. They can be resolved. Let's get the deal. Let's move on and focus on the job in hand, which is dealing with this pandemic.
So do you think that this is all a distraction, the withdrawal agreement?
There's certainly a case to be made that this is all just being used for leverage in the negotiations, and that's wrong in principle.
So you think he's bluffing?
Well, look, I think what the nation wants is a deal. That is in the national interest, and everything should be focused on that. Let's not reopen old arguments that the public think are long settled, and that's what the government's doing here.
OK, Jeremy Corbyn was criticised in the election for failing to take a clear position on Brexit, and it hurt Labour clearly. Your leader now, what is your position? Is Brexit a good idea, or is it now just a question of damage limitation?
We have left the EU. And therefore, the arguments about leave and remain that have torn us apart for the last few years are over. And I'm very clear, therefore, what's now in the national interest is getting a deal. I want a deal that allows businesses to thrive, for people to have good job opportunities, and to preserve peace in Northern Ireland. So we've left the EU. The divide between leave and remain is over. We need a deal. A deal is in the national interest.
OK, just before we get on to that, just to be clear then, could you ever see us rejoining the EU? Would you ever make that argument? Or do you now think that this is a matter that has been settled for a generation?
Look, I don't think there's a case for reopening the issue of membership of the EU. We have left. A deal can be struck in the next few weeks. The issues that are outstanding are not insurmountable. To have no deal would be a failure of negotiation, a failure that has to be owned by the Prime Minister. He promised the British people he'd get a good deal. He needs to deliver on that promise.
Well, you've been very critical of him, and you're critical now. What have you actually done since being Labour leader to try and influence the outcome of negotiations? Because to my mind, you've barely said anything at all or tried to influence it in any way. In fact, you've tried to avoid the question.
Well, the Prime Minister won the election. It was a devastating election for the Labour Party. He won by promising he would get a good deal. So what I've said is, here's the space, get that good deal, deliver on your promise. And that's what I've been saying for the last few weeks and months. It's what I say today. I think a good deal is there to be had. The Prime Minister needs to get on and negotiate it.
Just quickly, what specifically, when you say a good deal, what are the specific elements that you would like to see in that deal?
I think the most important thing, and this comes from businesses across the UK, is a deal that allows them to thrive in the future, that allows people to have good jobs, and of course preserves peace in Northern Ireland. They're the three elements, I think, that matter more than anything.
OK, and just quickly, Jonathan Jones, you probably personally know him, given that you have a background in the legal profession. Were you surprised at his resignation? What did you make of it?
Well, Jonathan is a first-class lawyer who's given excellent advice over the years, and I'm absolutely sure he would not have done this lightly.
Have you spoken to him?
I haven't spoken to him, but I've known him many years.
Did it give you cause for concern in that if he felt that he couldn't continue in government, that there was a serious issue regarding international law here?
Well, as I say, he's a first-class lawyer, and he would not have done this lightly.
And just finally on Brexit, a senior government figure said to me yesterday that they thought there was 30% chance now of a deal. Where would you put the chances of a trade deal at? I
think a trade deal can be struck. I think that the outstanding issues are capable of being resolved, and I think the government needs to get on in the negotiations, resolve the difficulties, and deliver the deal they promised the British public.
And is there anything in practical terms you can do to help facilitate that, such as talking to the EU leaders yourself?
Well, I don't think at this stage the government is going to involve me in talking to the EU. But I think it's straightforward. Get on with the negotiations, resolve those outstanding issues, deliver on the promises you made. The deal's in the national interest. Let's get that deal, move on, concentrate on the job in hand, which is defeating the virus.